boom, boom, on, off. That's a square wave. Hello, roar. I am not even gonna say that it's underrated because I think it's properly rated. People like it, I think. But including me, a lot of people just go through the presets, right? And maybe touch a parameter here and there without really knowing exactly what's going on. We're gonna dive into it. And the idea is to understand what is happening. And I assure you that if I can understand it, you can too. Because I am stupid. For the majority of this video, I'm gonna be using the same loop as the source, which is gonna be this drum loop from samplefocus.com. It has some compression going on, I think, but it's pretty clean. And that's what we want because roar is going to get crazy pretty fast. So what is roar anyway? It's like a saturation, coloration device with up to 3 processing stages, different saturation types, feedback, compression, and a bunch of modulation options. If that sounds complex, don't worry. Trust me. This is my favorite effect from Ableton, at least right now. And it was introduced in Ableton 12. So if you have a previous version, you need to upgrade. I'm gonna yap a lot. You have timestamps in the description. You can think of this as like different effects all in one. So you know in Ableton when you place effects, they go in order. So if you place an EQ, then you place a gate, then it's going from here to here to here. Something similar is happening here. We have like the drive, the input control. From the input, we choose a method of routing the stages, the different stages, which is where we are going to apply distortion and all of these different things. We have some modulation options to get some movement. We go to the feedback, and from the feedback we go to a compressor, and from the compressor we get an output. So all of that is going to happen simultaneously. Let's go piece by piece. What is drive? Drive is basically the input volume that we are feeding the monster, right? Which is going to be the stages. You can hear how it changes. With tone we can balance the high-low frequency. And here we have like this little slider to fine-tune that, to find exactly the frequency that you want depending on the source sound you are using, obviously. When I boost the high frequencies, you can see how the lows kind of disappear like a high-pass filter. That's because the color compensation is deactivated. If we activate color compensation, it's going to try to compensate the output by bringing some of those frequencies that you took out while maintaining this high tone for the color. This might not appear super important at the moment, but it is. It's going to be crucial because this is exactly what we're going to feed the monsters. So make sure to fine-tune this to find your ideal settings. Then we got a bunch of different routing modes. Routing is deciding in which way these stages are going to work together. In this case, we are using single, which is one of them, the first. Single means that we have just one stage. We have a bunch of them and they are all very interesting. For example, we can break down the sound in frequencies. So we have low, mid, and highs, and we can apply different distortions to each of these frequencies. We are going to ignore this routing for now. We are going to come back though, because it's super important, but for now, let's keep it simple. Single route. We got 3 controls. We have the amount of saturation. In this device, instead of calling it saturation, it's called shaper. So this is the normal waveform, and this is what we are doing to it. We are distorting. We have a bunch of different shaper modes, and they are all pretty different and cool. Like I said before, we are going to get to a point where we have multiple stages and we can choose different shapes for different stages and play with how they interact. We got the bias. Apparently it's like offset, signal, asymmetrical, distort, whatever that means. In the Ableton manual, it says that you can get like a broken circuit sound. Again, this seems like kind of useless right now and not very musical, but we can make it work with other things that we are gonna see soon. The last parameter we have here is the frequency. Just as we have a bunch of shapers, we have a bunch of different filter modes that we can play with. And we have this pre option. If it's turned off, the filter is going to modify the sound after this stage. Whatever is coming out of here, this is filtering that. But if we activate pre, we are actually filtering this before it reaches this stage. So we get some saturation after the filter. After that, we have the whole modulations section, but we're going to dive into this in a bit. Just know that we have the possibility to modulate different parameters, basically all of them, using different sources. For example, we have 2 LFOs, we have 1 envelope follower, which is super sick, and we have noise, like random values. So all of this is basically a way to assign movement to different parameters without having to do it manually. And then we have the matrix where we can do that. Here we have LFO1, LFO2, envelope, noise, and we can click any parameter and apply whatever we want to that. We got probably the most recognizable thing about Roar, which is the feedback mode. It feeds the signal back into itself, and that's why it generates this. And we have a bunch of different feedback modes. We can get like these really cool delays. We got the inverse the phase of the feedback signal. And then this thing is basically a stop for the feedback, because if this is not activated, the feedback just keeps going forever, even if you pause the song. And last but not least, we got a simple compressor at the end, because otherwise all of these noise weird things will be all clipping. That's basically Roar, but to me where Roar is going to shine is when we can play with these different routing options and mix that with the modulation and the feedback, and it goes absolutely crazy. Now that you understand how Roar works, let me explain the routing options. So we got single, just one stage, perfect. Then we got serial. This is kind of confusing, but serial is basically 2 stages, okay? So we got stage 1 and stage 2. As you can see, when we change from single to serial, this blend option appears. And you can see it's on 50-50 now, meaning that we are listening to 50% stage 1, 50% stage 2. So let me apply something here. So this is stage 1, but this is not stage 2. When I blend and I go 100% on the stage 2, we are listening actually a combination of stage 1 and stage 2. It's confusing, but it is the way it is. The next one, which is called parallel, this is 2 independent shapers, okay? These are separate. And now we can blend between one and the other. We have tube here. And then on stage 1, we have shards. And this movement that I'm doing right now, it's super easy to actually modulate. So let's go to modulation sources here, and I'm gonna choose one of the 5 waveforms that we have for the LFO. I'm gonna choose a square waveform, because what I'm doing here, as you can see, is boom, 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 on, off, on, off. That's a square wave. On, off. It's ready. We just need to go to the matrix now, and we need to click on blend, and we are going to assign LFO1 to blend 100%. So it goes 100 from one to 100 to the other. If we go to the other side, we get like the opposite order. We can modulate anything. We can now make like a sine wave LFO and apply this LFO to the frequency. So filter frequency, LFO 2. We can try different filters. And we can go back to modulation sources and maybe activate some of this noise. I haven't messed around with this very much, but as you can see, noise is just random values. It's like an LFO, but instead of being a consistent waveform, it's more like crazy stuff. Let's apply some of this noise to the feedback. So let's go to matrix, click on the amount of the feedback, and instead of LFOs, we are going to choose noise. Remember that the modulation is going to be happening around the place where you got this. See how the bias comes in handy when we can play with this blend option? Hello, this is me from the future. I forgot to talk about one modulation source, which is the envelope follower, and it's actually my favorite, so let me show you how it works really quick. I got this drum loop. I'm currently just using the stage 2. This is how it sounds. There's nothing being modulated yet. It's not just an envelope generator. This is actually an envelope follower. What it means is that it's going to follow the input signal, and we can kind of shape that. So if I play this, we are following the rhythm from the signal. So we can apply this movement back to trigger something like this filter, for example. Matrix, filter, envelope. And it's really cool because the filter gets triggered every time the drum hits. And we can shape the envelope a little bit. It can be more or less aggressive. If we increase the attack, it gets more smooth. And we can decide which kind of frequencies we want to pick up. Okay, let's continue. Let's try something else now. Let's try another routing thing, Multiband. Multiband is super interesting. By the way, you can open up Roar and use it like full screen, and you can see all of the modulations here, so you don't have to look for it. Maybe this is comfortable to you. I like to use it here. So Multiband splits the frequency spectrum into 3 different bands: low, mid, high. If I deactivate this too, and we listen to just low, we can choose a specific shaper for a low frequency. Now we can go to mid. And high. Altogether now, I have no idea what's going to happen. Very interesting results. This is super useful if we had another type of sound here, like a mixed song. So we can add this roar. Okay, we turn off all of the saturation and filters for the mid and low. So we can apply these shapers and saturation to just the highs. Now we got the mid side. The mid side routing is basically mono stereo. Mid is mono, side is stereo. The same as before, we can apply these effects in a cleaner way so we don't mess with some specific frequencies that we like. This is cool for bass sounds, for example. Let's try this. So this is the mono part, and then this is the stereo part, which is kind of crazy. That sounds cool. You can hear how we have this mono, and then this stereo comes and it's crazy. We can also modulate this morph, for example, in this filter. Awesome. And then we got the feedback mode. This separates the input feedback apparently. So feedback mode, let's go back to the drum loop. So we got the direct and then we got the feedback. So we can kind of destroy the feedback here. Yeah, that's the last routing thing. As you can see, all of these are super different and super useful. I didn't know that there were so many. I couldn't be bothered to understand it, you know? It's not like it's super complicated, as you can see. And you can still add more effects after and keep modulating and doing things. I hope you learned something. If you want to see me cover anything at all, let me know. Leave it in the comments. There are two main ways that you can support us. One, subscribing to the channel. Two, visiting samplefocus.com and getting some free samples for you. It's win-win. You get samples like this drum break, a bunch of them, amazing. I have uploaded my own samples so you can find them there too. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.